All right, we are live, and I'm waiting for George. All right, we are live, and I'm waiting for George. All right, we are live, and I'm waiting for George. We are live, and I'm waiting for George. We can't have that. Boom. Hey, everybody. It was a bird. It was a feedback bird. Not sure where George. Oh, George just messaged me and he said give him 5 minutes. All right. Who's got a timer? Start the clock. If we know George, he's probably coming in from a hard day working out there on the frozen lake. So we can certainly cut him some slack.
Hello, Jesse.
Hi, George.
Yeah, hey, give me 5 minutes here. I just got in from helping a friend snow rake his roof. I just need to get unbundled here, and I'll be right with you.
All right, sounds good, George. I'll just be here chatting with our viewers.
Yeah.
All right,
It'll be about 5 minutes.
That sounds good. All right, thanks. Hey, to everybody here, I want to thank you for all the comments you've made on the videos I've recorded recently, the live hangouts with Chris. There's so much there. Some people typed out some pretty long comments. Just bear with me. Give me a little time. I'll wade through those. In fact, I was thinking of maybe just doing a hangout and go through the comments and maybe just try to answer them live online, or if I've got to look up things, I'll do that too. So, but thanks for all of your interest and tuning in. So, John, you say it's like 78 out here. I don't know where you are, but we're due for some big snow tonight. I hear it's going to be another winter storm we're having here near the Philadelphia area. Sorry for all the silence. Maybe I should be playing some music. I'll entertain you. I will share my screen and play around a little bit. You all see that? If any of you have been watching George's videos, there's one video where he found this geodetic marker called Lake near to this beacon. And he took some pictures of it. Looks pretty cool. There's no pictures of record. The marker is called Lake. Second order. Second order, it's actually a traverse station, not triangulation. I'll show it to you. What you have here is an actual traverse. There's that's the station he found near that island. You know what it means when you find this one? That means you got to go find that one. And if you find that one, then you got to go find that one. So you got to go find 0 and Fort. And we definitely got to go find Rainy Lake. If you find Rainy Lake, then you got to go find this one. I don't know what that one's called. Oh, what fun. All right, if you're just joining, we're just waiting for George. He was out helping a friend remove snow from the roof. I guess that's pretty important up there where he lives, where you get some pretty heavy snowfall. And he's just come in and he's getting unbundled, and maybe he's getting a cup of coffee or a cup of tea or something. But we're just in the chat, and he's in the Hangout, and he'll be joining us shortly.
Coming up. Come on. Come on.
What's your dog's name, George?
Con.
Oh, that's right. Con. Yeah. While we were waiting for you, I just started sharing my screen and trying to keep everyone entertained. But let me turn it over to you.
Well, hang on here. I got to get everything
yeah.
arranged here.
Go ahead. There's Con.
Oh, is the video coming through?
I'm actually sharing my screen. I'm going to stop and turn it over to you. So, you say you were out there helping a neighbor remove some snow from the roof?
Yeah, the what? So here, come here, Con. Come on, come on, up, come on, come on, come on. Get up. Let's go. Come on. All right, good boy.
Hey, there's Con.
Yeah. Try to get focused in here. Yeah, he's my #1 helper. He's the supervisor. So anyway, yeah, this time of year, the snow tends to settle on the roofs. It doesn't blow off like it does when it's real cold out, you know, the midday sun's getting pretty high in the sky, so the snow tends to get a lot of water in it, you know, it gets sticky and then it settles. And then when we get more snow, it doesn't blow off the roof and you get these heavy snow loads. The last time we did it, we calculated with the snow depth on the roof and taking some samples and measuring the density, we had about 11.5 tons of snow on the roof.
It's a lot of snow. It's heavy.
Yeah, it can collapse houses if you don't get the snow off. And the other danger that you have is it forms ice dams. And then as the snow on the roof melts, it backs up under the shingles, and then you start getting water in the house. So you have to get the snow cleared off so it doesn't form these ice dams on the roof eaves. So anyway, we're all settled in now.
Good. Let's see.
Yeah, go ahead. You start, and and then.
Yeah. First of all, I want to make sure I'm doing this correctly. Are you sharing your screen, or you just have your camera on? Do you want to show some things on your computer? What would you like to do?
Well, we can as we get into it. I'll just give you kind of the abstract, a brief synopsis of what's going on.
Okay, and I'm also starting to figure out Hangouts, so I've popped the chat out, and I'll watch there too if people have questions.
Sure.
And just about 15 minutes beforehand, George, I went ahead and downloaded the triangulation diagram and geodetic control diagram for the area that you're working in. And I'll send that stuff to you if you don't already have it.
Or you can put it up on your screen.
Yeah, I can do that too for tonight. But I'm saying I'll.
Oh yeah.
Make sure you have those. I'll send.
Yeah, I'd like to have it.
Yeah.
Sure. Let's see here. What I'm doing right now is I uploaded a video a couple weeks ago, kind of outlining the tests that I'm doing out on the lake. What we have here is we're in the boundary waters of the U.S. and Canada up in northern Minnesota. I'm about 70 miles east of the northwest angle, the little tit that you see at the top of Minnesota, about 70 miles east of that. That tit is what's called the northwest angle, is in the Lake of the Woods, and I'm on a lake called Rainy Lake, which is...
While you're talking, I'll go ahead and share my screen and bring up Google Earth for people to see what you're talking about. And it should be up now, but go right ahead.
Okay. Yeah, you're showing Grassy Island there. Jackfish Bay. I'm a little bit west of that yet. I'm on what's called Sand Bay. Okay, you see that Birch Point? That's on Sand Bay. All that area where your pointer is Sand Bay. I'm on County Road 112. You see the 112 on that little loop there. Yeah, there's a little bay straight north of your pointer, and that's where I'm at. Go left a little more. Little left. Okay. Whoop. Right there. No. Go right. Right. Go right. Go right. That dock. That's my dock.
Oh, cool.
And that's where I'm set up. I'm set up right on the shore. You can kind of see that arc by shore. That's part of a walkway that I'm building. Yeah, and move your point. Stop. That's my surveying point, right in there. That's where I'm shooting out from. I'm up above the water, up above the ice, about 11 feet at that point, and on the shore, it's a rocky shore. But what you see, those 4 boxes in the water, those are dock cribs. Those are log boxes that are loaded with rock. That's the second part of the dock that I'm building. What you do is you put stringers across those and then a decking on top.
Right here.
Yeah. Each one of those boxes is 8 feet by 8 feet and about 7 foot in depth, filled with boulders.
Okay. And for anyone listening on darn it. Now I've got feedback again. Hold on a second. Thought I turned that sound off. Oh, it's must be on your end.
What on my end? What do I need to do?
Somehow I started hearing myself twice.
Okay.
But I wanted to let the viewers know who are online now that I will add your channel in the comments. You should definitely check out George's channel. Look at the videos he's uploaded recently describing the preliminary setup of his test with setting the targets and so forth. But
yeah. Well, I did this last year, and I set a line going from that spot northward into Canada. And from the experience that I gained last year, yeah, if you keep going, zoom out a little more. Yeah, your pointer, well, you can zoom in now a bit. Go. There, you stop there. Now, move your pointer straight north. That yellow line right there, that's the border. That's
okay.
U.S.-Canadian border. And north of that, you're in the Canadian waters of Rainy Lake. The lake I'm on is called Rainy Lake. This bay in here, big bay, is called Sand Bay. It's about a little more than 5 miles long by about 2.5 miles wide. It's just one of the many bays in Rainy Lake. Rainy Lake's the 10th largest freshwater lake in North America, excluding the Great Lakes. It's 360 square miles. It's a pretty good lake. It has a north arm. It goes upward into Canada north 40 miles, and the east arm goes 40 miles to the east. So from one end of the lake to the other, you can go 80 miles without any portaging.
So last year you conducted tests in this direction, north-south.
That's right. Yeah. If you see, there's a railroad track there.
Yeah.
Right there. That's a railroad track, and my last target was right before the railroad track, a bit to the right of where your pointer is in the island there. And that's 2.5 miles across.
Okay. And so this, you're planning to go out this direction to get a little bit more length?
Yeah, I get 6 miles right now. I'm going from my spot to what's called Home Island. Now, if you go over to the right, there's Franzen Island there. You see the orange dots, whatever you have there. Go to the next one. That's north.
Oh, Franzen. There's Franzen.
Yeah, that's Franzen Island. I have one target at the end of Franzen Island where that orange dot is.
And this is that disc you found.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Which is interesting. It's called Lake, but when you look at the picture of the disc, they never did stamp it. It looks to me like it's an unstamped disc, which is interesting. They forgot to bring their lettering kit and stamp the disc.
I see. Well, anyway, I have one marker pole right now, 50 feet off the point of the island.
Right. So it's like right around here.
Exactly. Yeah.
And we saw that in your video on your channel when you're looking out. And is that the one that you were firing the laser at?
No.
Okay.
There's another target. This is out 2.7 miles from the home base.
Okay.
And I have another target midway in between. If you go see Enos Island there,
yeah,
I'm up right about where you have your marker is where I have my second target, my first target.
And that's the one you were firing the corner cube, the laser?
Yeah, I have it mounted there, and that's the one on the first update with the laser where the short 4-minute video that I put up of shooting the corner cube.
Hey, do you mind if we take a pause right here in the conversation and I'll show people that if they haven't seen it?
That's fine.
Let me
It'll give me a chance to get a little more Dr. Pepper. I'll be right back.
Yeah, go right ahead.
if we can shoot and hit.
Okay, so for folks watching, these are the targets that George has been making, and I'm really intrigued by the fact that you've sized these targets to account for perspective, so that as you look at them out in the distance, they all appear to be the same size, right?
That is, yes.
That's a really nice approach. I hadn't even thought of that. That's pretty cool. So I'm looking forward to how all that turns out. And
this target here. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say what you're about to see and what you were just seeing while George got a drink is he was firing a laser at this. It's a corner cube. We also just call it a prism, a surveyor's prism or target, and it's a retroreflector is what it is. And the slices of glass are situated in a prismoidal shape so that they return the light back directly to where it came from. So that's what he's shooting this laser at, and he gets quite a return. Here we go. And George, this one is the one that's midway, right? That's about...
This is at 1.36 miles.
Yeah. And I'll pause there for a second. If you see right here, that's the beacon on the island. Is that Fresno Island?
Franzen.
Yeah, out there at about 2.7 miles. So that's even further out. So anything you want to say about this test here, or this?
No.
Pretty much checking out your stuff and getting ready to do your work.
The thing is, you can kind of see the target lighting up as you get close, and then when you direct hit it, you really get a flash.
Yeah. And what type of laser is this? What's the?
It's a 532 nanometer green laser. It's 10 watts.
Okay. And do you expect this to reach out to the 7 miles that or the 6 miles?
It already has.
Okay, fantastic.
I'll tell you more about it. I planted a target yesterday out at 6 miles, and it flashes back, just almost like this.
Nice.
It's quite amazing that what one corner prism will do. In fact, I just ordered up 2 days ago. I ordered up 6 more prisms so I can build a big array.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Well, I was just going to say, I mean, I've never played around with lasers like this, but way back in earlier times, before we were using GPS for as much as we do now, everything we did was with theodolites, and we did triangulation and we did traverse. And whenever we set our targets so far away that we really couldn't make them out through the theodolite, we would use like a signaling mirror and just direct sunlight toward the retroreflector, and we would get a nice return that we could point on with the theodolite. It worked quite well, but it reminds me of that. It's pretty nice. Although the beam would not be that thick. It would be a very small, almost like a pinpoint.
Yeah. Well, this is a pretty thin beam. The camera exaggerates the size.
Yeah, the return, sure.
The actual beam size and diameter is only about maybe about 5 millimeters.
So that target is situated right about here, and you right over here. And so the next one's here, and you say you've set out another one today?
Yeah, yeah. Keep going, keep going.
Okay.
There's 8 Mile Island. You see just above your pointer.
You're right here.
8 Mile Island. Now to the right of that is Home Island. That's where the target is.
Somewhere in here?
No. Go along the northwest edge there of the island. Go north, right about there.
Oh, okay. And is that your last target?
Yes.
Okay.
That's out at 6 miles.
Nice.
Yeah. That's got a nice straight shot. If you look at the situation here, maybe I can do a screen share. I'll show you here.
Yeah, let me back out and hand it over to you, George.
Let's see here. Is this coming through?
There might be a slight delay, but
might have to. I thought I hit screen share, maybe not. Let's see here.
oh, darn it. They didn't see my screen for all that.
Oh. I saw your screen.
All right. There. Sorry, people. I hope you were seeing that.
I was, so I'm sure everybody else was.
No, they're saying in the chat that they weren't seeing it.
Oh. Okay.
I mean, on my end, it said that I was sharing my screen, and it said, you know, stop sharing when I'm done. So, all right, I see your screen.
Okay, hang on here. Okay, are you seeing this now?
Let me, I'm going to go look at what people are looking at. Yeah, you're coming through.
All right. Well, this is on Home Island. And what I did, this is really quite amazing. I'm really impressed with Google Satellite and GPS. Is last night I went out with the snowmobile and I planted the prism, the retroreflector in a cedar tree, a small cedar tree that was up on the island. And I had my handheld GPS. I took the coordinates and I came back and I punched them in to Google Satellite, and damn if it didn't show the exact tree that it's on. You can see this tree here. This is a canopy of a large white pine tree, and just to the edge of it, there's this cedar tree where I have the corner reflector. And let's see, this should zoom out. Something's broke. Let's see here. Yeah, I'll let the page reload. But anyway, here's the coordinates of where the corner reflector is right here. 48,643,670 by minus 93.185,787 are the coordinates of the corner reflector out at 6 miles. Okay, so I can zoom out maybe now. All right. Boy, this computer is not very zippy. I think I have too many things going on in the background, Jesse. This thing is just really, really sluggish. But there's Home Island, and the corner reflector is right about in here. Let's see, I'll show measure distance. Okay, so zoom out. This is Franzen Island right here. My target at 2.7 miles is right there. And you'll be able to see now the shot that I have. Home base is sitting here. So that's the shot that we have. You can see that there's a nice unobstructed view. I'm just right to the south of this island here and to the north of this group of islands. So I have a nice optical corridor, straight unobstructed view over to home island there. So going from the home base to the end of the targets, there's one here at 6 miles. There's one here at 2.7 miles, and then there's one here at 1.32 miles. So that's how it is. And last year, my targets were up in here. I was shooting that line. I was going to do that again this year, but there's so much snow on the lake that I can't get there yet. I don't want to be running it with the snowmobile. I've been waiting for the snow to dissipate so I can run my car out on the lake. It makes it a lot easier. But I'm just focusing on this measurement line right now. And the motivation behind all this is last year when I did this measurement, the set of measurements, I had 3 targets. I had one at 1 mile, 1.5 miles, and at 2.3 miles out here. And what I did is I set an auto level back at this point and shot out a tangent with the auto level, and then these targets, like you saw, I adjusted the heights of the targets so that the centers were all in line with the auto level tangent. And then once everything was set and I was ensured that there was minimum refraction, I adjusted the target height so that they were all centered with the auto level tangent, and then measured the drop distances down to the surface water by boring a hole in the ice and let the water come up, and then measure to the surface of the water. And I had the data is posted on one of my videos, the one called Flat Earth Answers and Explanations. But anyway, the short version is that the drop distances all came within the 8-inch per mile squared formula to within, well within 1%. Is my measurement errors that I established, the uncertainty was about 3/4 of an inch. So I, at the 1 mile, I was seeing, you know, like 7.8 inches, something like that. And at the 1.5 miles was around 32 inches. And at the 2.3 miles, it was right around 48 inches or something on the drop. And it's really quite impressive because you look out on the lake and you'd swear it is flat as a pancake, you know. But yet there is the surface ice is curving. It's curving down away from you. And the only way to determine it is to actually measure it, because you cannot ascertain that looking out on the ice. You'd swear it's just like a flat parking lot. You just cannot discern any sort of curving going on. But anyway, the motivation this year was to pick up from what I learned last year, and what I wanted to do this year is investigate refraction. I'm doing some research on refraction, and the whole idea of setting the targets out this way and going out a further distance is so that the targets are a known height, and then by looking through at an auto level and theodolite back here, I can determine what's going on in this optical corridor by having these 3 targets out there. I can see them shifting in height relative to one another throughout the day. It's really kind of interesting. You get the targets all lined up in what seems to be a minimum refraction day, and then as you get towards sunset, you see the targets. As you go further and further out, the targets rise above the targets that are nearer you, because of the light is bending down, and the base lower portions of the target, the poles and stuff, are getting hit, and so the target looks higher than it ought to be. And by knowing the actual heights of the targets, I can ascertain the degree of refraction. I can calculate, say, over several miles, how much the targets come up in apparent height from where they ought to be. Where I know them to be, I can measure the apparent height and calculate the amount of refraction in the optical corridor. And that's a whole motivation. But I've had people express interest in the curvature. So as a byproduct of all this, it's very easy to make the curvature measurements, because I have these targets placed out there, and once they're adjusted so that the center of the targets are all in line with a tangent to the Earth at this point, I can again just measure the drop distances down to the surface of the water and determine whether or not there's curvature, or how much curvature. Because, you know, if the Earth, say, was flat, and you have all these targets set up so that they're centered with the tangent at this point, if the Earth is truly flat, then all the drop distances should be the same. And but yet, you know, in actuality, they aren't when you go out and measure. You can very dramatically see. I mean, by the time I get out here at 6 miles, you're looking at the drop out here at 6 miles relative to back here at the base is going to be about 24 feet. And yet you look out there and it just looks as flat as can be. But with the amount of uncertainty that I have, 24 feet is an easy measurement to pick up, because the uncertainty is on the order of about 7 arc seconds, and 7 arc seconds over 6 miles. Let's see, 7 arc seconds. Oh, that would be that's about 2.125 inches per mile. So over 6 miles, the uncertainty is about a foot. So out of 24 feet, a foot of uncertainty is easily washed out by the actual 24-foot drop. So the measurement that one makes is not going to be affected much by the uncertainty in the measurement. So this whole curvature thing is basically a byproduct of what I'm doing on the refraction measurements. That's kind of it in a nutshell.
All right, George. I had my speaker muted so that there would be no interference to your presentation. So I just want to say, first of all, how impressive this work you're doing is out there, because I just typed into the chat that there's nobody doing anything like this that I've seen. Certainly there are loads and loads of tests on refraction. I could send you some of those, but you know what? There's nothing like homegrown, do-it-yourself ingenuity like you're doing. And so it's, you know, you're to be commended for all the effort you're putting in.
Yeah, I'd be interested in any information you have on refraction. I find the whole subject of refraction quite interesting and fascinating. I've been looking at various equations that have been derived empirically by NASA and other agencies, and it looks like the primary driving factor is temperature difference in the optical corridor with
exactly, yeah,
relative humidity and barometric pressure having a lesser effect by about an order of magnitude, from what I can determine.
it'll be real interesting at the conclusion of your test to see what you come up with as the coefficient of refraction as compared to what is commonly accepted and applied as a standard refraction. Of course, if you want better results than just applying the model of standard refraction, you've got to do what the effort that you're going through, which is to take all the meteorological data along the corridor. And, you know, that's what they do for high order geodetic surveys. Or I should say, that's how it used to be done. You know, there really isn't, this type of work isn't going on anymore, really, now that we use GNSS for everything.
No, correct me if I'm wrong. It's my understanding that in long range surveying and geodetic surveying, what's typically done is the surveyor will measure the temperature at the observation point and at the target, then average them and go to tables to find out what the refraction is.
Yeah, I mean, I can send you reports that were done in the late 70s, in the 80s. But as I'm saying, geodetic surveying today is done exclusively with GNSS, GPS, and there are still some applications using theodolites for close range determinations. For instance, at some of these co-located sites that the International Earth Rotation Service monitors throughout the world, where you have a GPS or a GNSS receiver permanently mounted there next to, let's just say, a satellite laser ranging station that fires lasers up at satellites. And it may also be co-located with VLBI, very long baseline interferometry, where they measure the radio signals from quasars. And all of those facilities, they will still measure very precisely the relationship between all of those antennas. But that's a very specialized use of theodolites. And you're right. Back before GNSS and GPS, geodetic surveying was you were measuring very long lines with very precise electronic distance measuring devices, and they did measure temperature, pressure, and humidity at the observing station, at the target, and oftentimes along the corridor as well. And they did it near ground. They did it at the line of sight, and they did it above. So there were like usually at least two, but sometimes three of these thermistors mounted on a staff. So lots of measuring to do in order to determine precisely what refraction's doing. The other thing I want to mention is that I'm glad that you're discussing uncertainty of measurement, and you've established that for your test. That's really important. You know, everybody has to realize that measurement has uncertainty associated with it. It's not counting. We're not counting the number of feet. We're measuring the amount of feet, and every measurement is going to have a plus or minus value associated with it. And as you've done, you've identified what the plus or minus range should be for what you're doing. And you rightly stated that at the end of your test, where you're looking for 24 feet, a measurement uncertainty of plus or minus a foot is not going to impact your result. You're going to be able to find out if there's 24 feet or not, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah, I mean, by the time you're out 6 miles, with the drop distance, it is so much greater than in the uncertainty that it's not the uncertainty is not going to mask the measurement.
Exactly, and that's the case I've made when I just post pictures that I've taken through my theodolite of, you know, either the Empire State Building or Philadelphia from Apple Pie Hill or other pictures. And I say very little about it. I want people to think about what they're looking at and try to draw a conclusion from what they're seeing. And it's without any refraction. I'm not talking about refraction. It's just this there, right there. My picture of my crosshair hitting the top of the Comcast building, as I don't know if people see that or not right now, but and I just give my elevation, the elevation of the crosshair and the distance to the remote object. Whether there's refraction involved or not, there probably is, but take the worst case, and still, you know, it will not explain everything that you're seeing in that photo. So when do you think you're ready to get underway with the actual campaign of measurements that you're going to be doing?
Well, unfortunately, we've had really warm weather, and it's causing severe refraction out on the ice. And until things settle down, what I'm doing right now is just getting targets set up. And once the atmosphere starts settling down over the ice, where I feel that when I make the temperature measurements to show that the optical corridor is, say, stable, then I can start making the measurements. I can then adjust the targets, you know, to be centered with the tangent. And then once the targets are set up, then can just go out anytime and make the measurements, pop a hole in the ice, let the water come up, and then measure the center of the target to the surface of the water. That can be done at any time once the targets are set up.
How do you go about adjusting the target to that height that you want it to be? What is that? Just a trial and error?
Yeah.
You just go back and forth.
For me, because I'm by myself, it's a long, drawn out process. Am I still screen sharing or not?
I think you are. I haven't done anything.
You see, I have my TopCon auto level on the screen here. Is that coming through?
It was. Now we're seeing my, hold on. What I should do is mute. If you're about to begin presenting again and discussing.
I can show you some of the photographs that I have from last year that is going to be identical or similar to what I'm going to be getting this year. Let's see, do I need to reestablish sharing?
I think you're still sharing. I'm just looking. I don't know why I can't find. Geez almighty. I have so much trouble with this. So I'm going to close Google Earth.
Let's see here.
All right, there, your screen is up.
Okay. There's the TopCon auto level. Is that coming through now?
Yes.
Okay. Now, that's set up on the surveyor's tripod looking out over the ice. It's up on land. And, okay. This is what it looks like when the targets are set up. The target on the right is at 1 mile. The target on the left is at 1.5 miles, and the target in the center is at 2.3 miles out. So what I do is if you see here, there's a 4-inch sewer pipe. I showed this on my survey overview video of a few days.
George, hang on a second. What we're looking at is con.
Oh, you're not getting the screen share then. You're not getting my computer screen.
Not right now.
You're not seeing the auto level.
Now, we were before, but we're looking at con right now.
Okay, well, try to see what's going on here.
And con looks like...
Yeah, he's pretty content. He's had a hard day.
There you go. There you go. We got your, yeah, he needs to be resting. There's your,
okay, the auto level. Okay.
Well, I see it. I don't know if people are seeing it, but I'm told I shouldn't be showing this screen, but I have to. I don't care if anybody sees the Hangout link, whatever.
Well, as soon as what I have up is the top con auto level. So
okay.
Once everyone has seen that, then I can step through the other video.
Yeah, they do.
Okay. All right, here's the targets. This is what you'll be seeing once the targets are set up. The target on the right is at 1 mile, where there's 2 targets on the post here. Then this target on the left is at 1.5 miles out, and the target in the center is at 2.3 miles out. And the way this is built is, I'll show you in a bit, a clearer photograph, but there's a 10-foot long, 4-inch diameter sewer pipe that's frozen into the ice. I drill a hole in the ice with my chainsaw, make a hole 20 inches deep, set the posts in, stomp snow around it, and then pour water in to freeze it. And then I strap a 20-foot 2x4 alongside it with 2 hose clamps to hold it against the pole. And then all I have to do is loosen up the hose clamps and move the 2x4 up and down with the target to get it centered up with the crosshairs of the auto level. This is the tangent line back at the auto level at the observation at the land on my property, looking out over the ice. And this target is out at the Canadian shore at 2.3 miles out. And you can see again, you know, this target is 31 inches in height from the bottom to the top here. This target here is 17 inches. So they've all been proportioned, again, as you said, you know, to take advantage of perspective so that when I'm viewing them, they all look at about the same size. This target here is considerably large, is twice as large as this target, you know, look. In actuality, if you took them down and put them together side by side, I did that in that video, my overview video, to show you these actual targets in that video, and you see that this target is twice the size of this target. So anyway, what I do is I sight through the auto level. The auto level tripod remains fixed at a fixed height, and the auto level is mounted to it. Nothing has changed once I get the auto level mounted at the observation point. It remains that way, you know, for weeks on end until I'm through doing my tests. That remains fixed. So what I do then is I look and I estimate, like on this target here, we see that it needs to lower a little bit. And by knowing the sizes of these triangles on that particular target, I can view this and make a pretty good educated guess how much I need to move that target down. So I go out on the ice, I loosen up the hose clamps, I take a tape measure, I mark the, put a mark on the 2x4 and on the sewer pipe, and then I mark on the sewer pipe how much lower I need to lower the target, and then I just lower the 2x4 until the mark on the 2x4 meets the mark on the sewer pipe, and then I know I've got the right hand. So then I go back, look through the auto level again, see if it's you know, now in the center of the crosshairs like this one is. And if it isn't, then I make another estimate as whether I have to move the target up or down, and make an estimate how many inches I need to move it, and then go back out on the ice, loosen up the hose clamps, and adjust the target. And it generally takes 3 or 4 iterations to get it right. So It would be nice to have a helper with a phone or a walkie-talkie and just have them out there and say, you know, higher, lower. There, you got it. We're done. You know.
Well, that's what I was going to say. It sounds like a two-man job, and but you're getting it done. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. I mean, it takes a lot of time. I mean, what would normally with two people only take on the order of maybe a half an hour at most takes me several days by myself because I have to make these trips out on the ice and trips back and forth, you know, 2.5 miles out, 2.5 miles back, make an adjustment, look at it, go back 2.5 miles out, you know, make the adjustment 2.5 miles back. You know, it just takes a while.
So I'm real interested in making a trip out to meet you and see what you're doing here firsthand. When do you think would be the best time for that? I'm not promising.
Well, right now,
to hear from you. Yeah. Maybe I can schedule it. We'll see.
Yeah, I'd like to meet you too. I mean, you're more than welcome to come out here. What I would say, the ideal time probably come out here would be like the third week in March, right around the equinox. I've got a really neat spot on Franzen Island. There's two rock ledges that are flat as can be for mounting tripods up above the ice, and you have a clear shot into the western sky to watch the sunset for the equinox. And I was doing that last fall for the Woofy Challenge, and I got thwarted at in the last hour. Some clouds rolled in. I had this perfect setup. I had the theodolite all set up. I had established true north, true south, and I had 90 degrees from true south all set up. And it was a shoe-in for the contest, and then I had to abandon it in the last hour because.
Well, in my opinion, you should get a consolation prize from Wolfie anyway, and everyone listening should be sending messages to Wolfie saying, "Hey, you know, let's reward George for."
Yeah, no need for that. Here, let's see.
So you're saying more toward like the last week in March? I'm traveling. I'm traveling on 18th through 23rd. I'm wondering if I should make a stopover on the way back. I'll be out in Washington.
Yeah.
Maybe I should drop in.
Don't want to go too far into April because we, by that time, if it warms up fast, the ice will deteriorate quickly.
Okay. I think it's going to stay cool.
We could get out still with snowmobiles, but to travel via vehicle, probably the first week in April is going to be about the last that I dare take a car out. But we can still go for several weeks after that with the snowmobile. I mean, the ice can get pretty weak, and
you're talking April, and I'm talking about the last week in March or that weekend. I think I can.
Yeah, last week in March would be the best. And like I say, for doing viewing the equinox out here is really kind of neat. With, like I say, going on Franzen Island to watch the equinox, the spring equinox would be kind of fun. But if you can't do it at that time, you know, any time towards the in the third or fourth week of March, we're still going to be pretty good.
Okay. All right. I'll start looking at what the possibilities are.
But the thing is you might want to touch base with me over the next week, because if it starts warming up too fast, then we're going to be fighting refraction, and it might not be worth. We're not going to be able to really make any good measurements because there's just going to be way too much shimmer out on the ice with the atmosphere, you know.
Right. Okay. I have no idea. Never been anywhere near a lake like that with 25 inches of frozen solid ice.
Yeah. Well, you can easily drive on 6 inches of good ice, but 25, 30 inches of ice will hold up a fully loaded semi-tractor 18-wheeler.
Cool.
In fact, back in the day, The loggers up here used to lay railroad tracks and run locomotives over the ice in the wintertime.
Yeah. Wow.
But yeah, 25 inches of this really nice, really good ice is will hold up just about anything. You can imagine. Certainly a car. I run my 7,000-pound Bobcat out on 6 inches of ice.
I don't know. The more I think about this and see what you're doing, it's like the perfect test. This is the test that so many flat earthers call for. They want to use the water as the reference. You made a great offer to Jaron to come on out there, see this for himself, and if he could prove flat Earth, then you were going to reimburse him for all his travel expenses, and you were going to, on top of that, give him $1,000. That's a good challenge, and you've got.
Well, actually, what I had proposed to Jaron is, am I still screen sharing here?
Yes, you are.
Okay, let me show you this part of the lake. This is interesting. Now, if we look here, I have to zoom out a bit. Not too far from my place, there is right here. In fact, I took photographs of this yesterday when I was out on the ice with the snowmobile, but I haven't loaded it all up yet. But let me show you here. If we measure, we have a really nice shot right up through what we call Swell Bay, and it's an unobstructed view going like this, right up through this bay, and then you see it's showing us that's 20 miles. So what I had proposed, I told him, well, you know, what we could do is we could take a snowmobile, mount a marker pole on it, and just go down this line and let the snowmobile go out of view. And if he can take a telescope or anything and bring it back into view, I'll pay for a strip and I'll give him $1,000, you know, once it dips below the curve of the earth. And I told him, you know, we don't have to even go out to the 20 miles. We could probably go out to 12 miles. At 12 miles, you're looking at, 96 feet. Is that right?
What if I'm just thinking about this. Let's open the test up. Let's open this challenge up to any flat earther, not just Jaron, but if any flat earther, and we're talking the rest of the month of March, and as you were saying, probably well into at least halfway through April. So we're talking about a good 3 to 4 weeks time from tonight that anybody could pick up $1,000 and have all their expenses paid to get here and prove the earth is flat by this method of pulling something back into view that has, you know, gone over the horizon or gone past the vanishing point or whatever it is they're saying.
Yeah, because if we leave at this point here and say go out 12 miles, which is what, 10 and a half, 11 and a half, 12 miles, we'll be out at this spot that from the tangent to the earth, this would be down 96 feet. So if you're up at, say, 3 feet or 6 feet viewing, that puts your horizon out at 3 miles. So if we subtract 3 miles off 12, square that and multiply by 2/3 of a foot, that puts us at 54 feet. So at this point, 54 feet will be hidden below the curve of the earth. If you have an observer standing back here at 6 feet up above the ice.
Well, think about it. We're able to actually calculate, we can anticipate where they will start to disappear. And right. You can watch that happen. And then you could say, now come back a little, and then they come back. Now All right, go ahead. Then they disappear. So
Well, what I was thinking is more
understand.
than that, Jesse, is mount on a snowmobile, mount like one of these 10-foot shore pipes with marks on it every 2 or 3 feet and have go way beyond so you can see the top part of the pipe and then just calibrate on the pipe
Yeah.
where you stop seeing it.
Right. I was thinking of doing the same thing, but literally predict where that will happen and then just show there it is. That's what happens. And why is that happening on flat Earth? You know, if we're able to predict where that's going to disappear and then actually measure the increments of the pipe going down, down, down until it disappears, we can tell you where that's going to happen, then the reverse should be true. The flat earthers should be able to tell us why that's happening at that spot on flat Earth using whatever precept, I call them precepts, whatever flat Earth reason, flat Earth science reason it is. They should be able to explain why that's happening.
And furthermore, one interesting thing you can do back here at this starting point, the land here has like small cliffs. I could probably get permission from the landowner to use their property to, you can get up about at least 50 feet above the ice by climbing up. So, you know, you can
then what we do there is we have a P900 set up there from Soundly or somebody. You get a P900 up there and we can have simultaneous recording of the pole on the snowmobile disappearing at the lower level. Meanwhile, it's still visible from the 50-foot level.
Exactly. Yep.
And then actually calculate from that point, when is it going to disappear again?
Yeah. And if you go out, say, to 15 miles here, let's see, 15 squared is 220, or let's say subtract 3 mile horizon from 15, square that, we're looking at 96 feet down from a viewer at 6 feet high at this point, but it's really neat. I'll show you this in a few days once I get the videos loaded up. Like I said, last night I went back here with my camera and I shot down through here, and this always intrigued me as a kid, and I never really knew much about the curvature thing or anything back then. But we had a cabin over here as a kid, and I always found it rather curious. I could look down through this corridor, and as you look, pan left to right on the horizon, you see all this landmass that's about 10 miles, and then all of a sudden, everything disappears. There's a big hole in the horizon, and then it comes back. You start seeing land again as you continue panning. So you can imagine in the looking out at the horizon, all the trees on the land masses here are about the same height. They're around 50 feet high, and you see a real even horizon looking, at these land masses here and these land masses here. And then as you get to where you're looking into this finger bay, you see the trees getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller to the point where there's nothing. There's nothing on the horizon here. And then all of a sudden the trees start coming back and getting bigger and bigger and bigger as you're panning more and more right to the right. It's pretty dramatic.
Sounds great. I hope
it's a rather unique spot in that way, because you can see that when you're looking right down this bay, you're out at 20 miles, but as you're panning to the left, this landmass is quickly coming close, to 10 miles out. So you can see the trees and the landmass here, but it totally disappears beyond the curve of the earth when you're looking in this narrow spot and you see this hole in the horizon where there's nothing.
Yeah. So you've taken some video of that. You're going to be putting up
Yeah,
on
I have some. Well, if you want to present something right now, I can maybe get it up here real quick.
I would say we're over an hour now. We're about
okay.
Just about quarter.
Yeah.
Past 9. It's 9:11. I'd say let's wrap this up. This has been really good. I hope people got some good information out of this who are watching, and of course, it'll be recorded for people to come back and see. And really, this is a work in progress. You are still putting this test together. I'm really hoping that I can come out and see it firsthand for myself. But even if I can't, we can do some more hangouts like this as you proceed with the test and have results that you can show. So I just want to thank you for coming.
One of the things, Jesse, just include before closing here, is this test here, as far as trying to bring something back with a camera once it goes far enough out that it's hidden by the curve of the Earth. This isn't limited to wintertime. I mean, we could easily do this with a boat in the summertime. It's just that in the wintertime, for getting a quantitative measurement like actual drop distance and stuff, the wintertime is so much easier working on frozen ice than trying to deal with buoys and boats and stuff on open water,
Well, of course. And the fact is that water is flat. The Earth is flat. you got flat ice out here. So.
Yeah, but it just, having the ice just makes it so much easier because you can freeze posts in. I mean, how do you have stable posts on open water? It's just nearly impossible. You'd have to have barges out there, and
the thing is,
and you have swells and tides and stuff to deal with. Whereas in the wintertime, the water underneath the ice is quiet. There's no swells, no waves. It's just quiet.
Right. Well, all the several tests that I've done on water, comments on there, oh no, you should be on ice. Well, baby, here's the ice. You got a lot of ice here. So
we do. Actually, I figured it out the other day. In order to melt all the ice that's on the lake, if we had to pay Mother Nature use for the energy of the sun to melt the ice, that's going to occur in about the next 30 days, starting at about the end of March, at 12 cents a kilowatt hour. The amount of energy, electrical energy, to heat the lake, to melt all the ice, would be $6.3 billion.
Yeah, it's going to happen naturally.
Yeah. It's something like 10 to the 17th joules of energy is needed to melt all our ice lake, or our lake ice.
Wow. Oh, by the way, your background is are you an engineer by trade, or
yes, what? I'm an electrical engineer and a mathematician. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, my whole career has been in instrumentation, Jesse. I used to work in the Loveland, Colorado HP Labs division in precision multimeters and data acquisition. I did a lot of analog design on high-end multimeters and RF switching cards. And that's where I cut my teeth in learning about uncertainties and how to assess measurement errors. And I worked a stint in the metrology lab in standards with NIST.
Okay. Well, there's no doubt, your channel's filled with mathematics. There's, you've got a very deep and broad understanding of mathematics. And then here,
just so people know, I mean, most of the stuff that I post is not, there's only one video on there that's really even targeted at flat Earth. And most of what I do, I really don't, I don't have a dog in this fight. I don't care about flat Earth, globe Earth. And the mathematics and the science videos that I'm posting is generally geared towards college students.
It's like tutoring on those topics, which is excellent. And the thing here is that with your career as an engineer and your background, you certainly have the capability for doing a data analysis. And here you are doing actual practical hands-on, no doubt about it, surveying. I mean, this is good stuff. And we'll wrap it up here. We should have some more hangouts like this as you go if you want to. I'd like to.
Yeah, that's fine. Sure.
I don't know if you had did you catch any of the ones that I had done with Chris Van Matrie?
Oh, I watched some of that. Where did you dig that guy up?
Well, he has his own channel, and he is a self-professed flat Earth surveyor. And
all I can figure out is that he must have spent most of his career just surveying parking lots where he everything did look pretty much flat.
It's possible. He does say that he worked for the Missouri Transportation Department. He gives his background. I wanted to hear that. One of the biggest things that stood out, by the way, I'm very hopeful he'll come back and do some more. I want to engage him in conversation. I'm not so sure he is going to come back, but I'm encouraging him to. I've got some emails and texts to him and a couple voicemails. So we'll see if that happens or not. I hope he does. But the one thing that did stand out was, I think it was in our first meeting, where he had drawn on his whiteboard, a circle to represent the Earth. And he pointed down on the diagram. And then I said, well, Chris, where's down? And he points down on the diagram. I said, no, I mean, like, really where you are. And he points to the floor. I said, okay, that's down. Then he goes back up to the diagram and he points to where he is on the diagram and he points down on the whiteboard. And I said, well, wait a minute, that's not down. Where's down? And I got him to understand that, I hope I did, down is toward the center of the diagram. It's not down on your whiteboard. So that is I don't know why, but that seems to be a misconception with so many people that believe the Earth is flat, that they can't figure out where really where down and up are. And with that, well, I don't know. I guess from there it just goes, the confusion compounds itself. Anyway, we'll see if he comes back, but I surely hope you and I will get to have a couple more hangouts before your test is over. So anyway, thanks for coming on tonight, and we'll talk to you soon. And good night, everybody. Thanks for hanging around and listening to me and George talking. And thanks for all your comments in the chat. Hopefully you'll like the video and maybe put some comments down below. All right. Good night, everyone.
Thanks, Jesse. Talk to you later.
All right, George. Bye-bye.